Underground cinema is more like rock and roll in terms of what rock and roll was like in the sort of like late 40s, early 50s, as it developed as literally an underground culture, which then broke through into the mainstream and transformed everything.
Der Lust ihrer Augen reicht aus, den Schauplatz des Blutbades zu beleuchten.
I'm a filmmaker. That's what I see myself as. But within that, I would say that my filmmaking also includes performance, agitation, putting on events, history, writing. But I would class that all as, you know, within my filmmaking. So, I guess I'm kind of a film activist. I've got so many irons in the fire that the fire's almost gone out. The main driving forces behind Exploding has always been to oppose selection by festivals or funding agencies or any kind of institution. So we're against any kind of selection, so we show everything. In that time we've shown thousands of films and put on hundreds of shows. We have no licenses to do anything. We've never had any licenses. We have never sought licenses to do anything. So we remain completely outside the law. And I mean, that's the only real way to operate.
Hey boys, there's gonna be a cinema war!
It's not a culture in that way, you know. Actually just liking something isn't making something, you know. You really like these films, big fucking deal. You have to make something, that's the thing. By the time, within about 3 years of operating, then we started doing very big shows. And we decided what we would do is we'd put on a festival, which would be a combination of all the different groups that were operating in London. We had a 2-week period for the festival, and every group in London put on a show within that 2 weeks. And then we did publicity for it. Anyway, we called, the festival was called Volcano. So that was the first one, 1996. The Halloween Society, Omsk, Kinky Movies, My Eyes, Kino Disobey. Kino Disobey were based at the Horse Hospital, which is London's premier underground venue, still is. Anyway, so this is the kind, so everybody put on a show within this. This was the next one. And this was an oval house, so it's got loads of stuff. And the German groups came over. You heard of Jack Sargent? He wrote the, Arthur Largo was involved. Arthur Largo, one of the key British underground filmmakers of the 90s. And Jeff Keane, who was the kind of, Jeff Keane, the most important British underground filmmaker of them all. He made many short films. The distinction between British film and video art and underground cinema, it's just kind of lumped together. The independent sector is basically the British state as an agent in film, which is what it is. So it's organisations, kind of bureaucratic state organisations which fund and support film. That is the independent sector.
Yeah, fuck 'em.
Exactly, fuck 'em.
Bring it down! Have a seat for a second. Shit is getting out of control.
Charlie says, always tell your mummy before you go off somewhere.
There's a rather strange Facebook group which has gone viral. It calls on people to take photos of women eating on the London Underground and then post them online. It has so infuriated some people that they've planned a protest, a picnic on the Circle Line on Monday.
Extra! Read all about it!
Well, we're joined by the man who set up the Women Who Eat on the Tubes page. He's the filmmaker Tony Burke.
You know, the world we live in changes very, very quickly on a daily basis, monthly, weekly, yearly basis. Things move on dramatically, and I think technology moves on, and therefore how we behave changes. And I think human behaviour doesn't adapt as quickly, because I am kind of invading people's privacy, but completely within my own kind of moral and legal entitlement. So then you have to start talking to sort of the governments or the technology providers and start saying, right, well, do you start kind of putting warnings on things and saying, right, here's a camera on your phone, but it's not all right to use it in certain situations, and that's when it starts to get a little bit muddy. I don't have any formal training in filmmaking or writing or anything like that. It's just how I do it. You know, I haven't done a course at the BFI or gone to university and studied film or anything like that. It's just something which has evolved and happened.
Good luck.
I don't mind rattling the bars and shaking things up and going in front of the cameras, or, you know, being a hate figure. I think that's right up my street, really, to sort of try and disrupt. And I'm not an anarchist, but to just upset a few people. People like to be upset. You look at all the guys that came out against women who eat on tubes, and the guys I ended up on the radio with and stuff. You know, I made their day. I made their fucking day, I made their fucking month or year, because, you know, they all love to moan about stuff and the injustice of things in society and how unacceptable. And I gave them something to hate. I gave them their moment in the fucking spotlight themselves. You know, that girl wouldn't have got on Radio 4 Today programme if it wasn't for me. She should be thanking me, you know, not railing against me, because you know, without a hate figure, without someone, you know, supposedly in their eyes doing wrong, they've got nothing to complain about, and they are just a bunch of complainers. I did everyone a favour, everyone won.
So many fantastic films and filmmakers. So many people have come to the screening tonight, and it is rain dance, which means there's no VIP or press area. It's a free-for-all, and it's so great to see so many people here celebrating independent film.
I started rain dance at a really important crossroads in my life. I had done all sorts of other things, and in 1991 found myself completely destitute. I was living here in London. There was a big recession. I lost everything, and I was feeling really sorry for myself until a friend of mine said that no doctor in the world can help you as long as you're feeling sorry for myself. And I agreed he was right. And so I asked this friend what I should do, and he said, do what you love.
To rise.
I grew up Amish back in Canada, the horse and buggy people, and I was always told as a young kid, never ever go to the movie theater because the devil lives there. But I love movies. So I didn't know anybody, so I started rain dance as a thought experiment. Can you make a movie with no training? I had none. No experience? I had hardly any. And can you make a movie with no money? That's why I started rain dance. Filmmakers who succeed, and by the way, I know filmmakers who succeed financially, like Chris Nolan and Edgar Wright. I also know filmmakers who succeed with brilliant films who have yet to achieve the commercial or critical success they deserve. But what both of these types of filmmakers share is passion. And when you meet them, they are driven. They're driven to tell their stories using whatever resources they can get together. And it's that passion that either you have it or you don't, and if you don't have it, you can only want to be a filmmaker. You can't, I believe, ever be one. If I could be the Prime Minister of British film, I would work on distribution because a lot of British films get made, but nobody sees them. The Americans, you see, are so good at marketing and promoting their films. British people, despite the fact they're really good at marketing, say, clothes on the high street, are really terrible at marketing their films. And even when they are good, the way the cinema are structured here in the UK and in Europe for that matter, makes it very, very difficult for a filmmaker making a film on a camera like that. No matter how good, it's almost impossible to get it into the cinema.
You know what this is?
We gonna play games?
I asked you a question.
Okay, no, I don't.
Then I'll tell you. This is your record.
Did I make a record?
You see how it goes, Johnny. Speeding, reckless driving, and then the chicken scene, and finally you run a policeman off the road. You think that's funny?
Doesn't matter whether I think it's funny or not. It hasn't got anything to do with me.
But you're through breaking the law.
I don't break the law. I make my own.
Your luck's running out, Buster.
You, Sarge? You're a big man.
We'll get you, kid. Even if we didn't, you'd get yourself. Now beat it.
Sarge? Sarge, I want to tell you something. You're a very far-out stud.
Mad, isn't it? It's crazy. First time I've ever been, so a bit nervous.
Oh, it's fantastic because it's genuine. It's a genuine project. It's adventurous and original because it's getting people involved into not just programming, just you know, into cinema in general, and everything is quite relaxed, and everyone has got a say. It doesn't matter if you're a programmer, if you're not. You know, you can just get involved by screening a film, you know, and it's about cinema. That's what it's about. So
we're going to show old school, nasty, grimy trailers and make it kind of as if you picked up a videotape off the shelf in like the early 80s and kind of trying to make it feel a little bit illicit.
bit on that one?
Huh?
Can you move stuff a little bit?
Yeah, fine.
I was worried you were going to battle those speakers out.
Okay.
You can hardly hear it now.
Okay. We actually paid some money. We paid £5 for each of these chairs, which came from Stockport Plaza when they were renovating. The sound installation was given by someone who just followed us on Twitter and just wants to get involved. It just shows you don't have to have funding to do this. You just need the initiative and the volunteers. And people who are showing films already in Liverpool. So film festivals like the Liverpool Radical Film Festival. And there's groups called Elsewhere Cinema and Think Cinema who are doing events already in different venues, but not specific cinema venues. We're going out 6 months now, so we started in March. Yeah, I'm deeply involved in Escarama since the beginning. So I've kind of seen. It's not so much, I think, new initiatives. I mean, there are loads of new initiatives, but I think it's more that the fact they're all linking together, it makes it more visible. That's really about trying to unite all the people who are doing stuff and make it more visible.
Hi gang, welcome to the strange, bizarre and extremely odd world of the extremes and the fringes of the movie festival scene. I'm standing outside the Scala Cinema, which is officially the scariest place in North London. It was the site in 1987 of the first Shock Around the Clock Film Festival, which was kind of like the Woodstock for the bizarro generation. We're here on the day of the Spring Film Extremes all-day session, devoted to martial arts, horror, monsters, death, slime, and the more strange and perverse areas of cinematic expression.
Scala is sort of pretty much a necessity, and that otherwise we'd just be watching stuff which the corporations and people have actually designated that we should watch, rather than discovering what's out there and what's really good.
But also tied up to the legend of it was doing illegal screenings of Clockwork Orange, and that's not why it necessarily shut, but it's kind of part and parcel of this idea of a renegade cinema showing films that they weren't allowed to.
Across the countries that people are getting together to watch films because they want to, and they're trying to find their own ways of doing that, just using the tools they've got to hand. Because now the technologies and tools are easier and cheaper, and the ways of organising are much more available and much more expansive. But I think it still comes from that punk spirit. Yeah, we'll, just pick up a guitar and start playing. Just get a projector and a screen and an audience. That's a cinema. Let's just fucking do it, which makes it more democratic, but it also does make it like, well, we kind of don't know what's going to happen. There's that kind of broader, the more grassroots and the more independent the event organisers are, and it's much more rich, much more chaotic, and much more genuine for that.